Jason Patrick, who's chasing Star, and they come right about to here, and this is where it was. This is where Kiefer was with his Lost Boys. Star is clearly troubled, you know, there's something about it, you know, she's looking for something else. She seems, you know, in with the wrong crowd. And Jason, of course, like he's a new guy in this beautiful, I mean, they're both like stunningly good-looking people, and they saw each other and the love just sparked for them and for us. We fell in love with them, and we've been in love with them ever since. I'm Jamison Newlander. I played Alan Frog, one of the Frog brothers, in the 1987 cult classic movie, The Lost Boys. That's me, with Corey Feldman. By the time The Lost Boys came out, we all realized that we were taking a bit of a right turn for the vampire genre on an unexpected scenic detour through Neverland. Now, more than 35 years later, I'm on a mission to find and rediscover all the lost locations that went into making this amazingly cool movie. Welcome to Jamison Newlander's Lost Locations, Searching for the Lost Boys. All right, so the significance of this spot, first of all, as I've been talking about in a couple different ways, this is actually one of my favorite scenes, or it's actually one of my favorite lines in the whole movie, where, okay, so he's here, and he thinks he's got a shot with Star, and he's trying to work it with Star and everything, and then David's there, and he's like, Star. And then so she goes, and she gets on the back of his bike, and then Michael's all like confused and everything like that, and then he goes like this, he's like, if you ever want to see Star again, Michael, you'll come with me. And this is where it is. This is the joy of it. And he's like, I can't beat your bike. And David says, you don't have to beat me, Michael. All you got to do is keep up. And then they took off this way, and they're coming this way like this, and he's following them, and then so this is where they came, and they all came out this way, and they all went down these stairs. You see this? The bikes were like a bling, bling, bang, bang, bang down the stairs. And so actually, if you can see what's going on here is that we're shooting this after, a few days after there were these king tides here a couple of days ago. And you can see there's all this damage to this stuff, and they're doing a good job trying to preserve it. That looks like all new stuff that they're like, hey, this is part of the Santa Cruz heritage here. I don't want to get in between these red tanks. I don't know if this Jaws is in there, you know what I mean? Different parts of Jaws, they're going to come together and try and kill me. But I just think Santa Cruz, the more I've come here, this is now, probably like a third or fourth trip for this show, and it's like, what a cool town it is now, I think. Not only is it a cool town, but it's the most beautiful, one of the most beautiful places I've seen, and I've seen it now in a few different seasons, on the beach, the boardwalk, up in the mountains, and it's just freaking gorgeous. Just to think, this is where we shot. This is where they shot. Their motorcycles cruise down these stairs and off saying hello to the night. We are in the theater for the second night of Retromania Live, and the cool thing about this night, is that Lou Gramm is playing tonight, and it's been my hope to get to talk to Mr. Gramm and ask him some of the questions in my mind, like how he ended up involved in Lost Boys. I probably will only just get a couple minutes with him, but I'm really excited. This is backstage now, or it will be soon, and so we're going to go check it out, all right? Come on. I get this question all the time, how I came to Lost Boys, how is it that I got to be in, and so that's my question for you. How did this happen? How did you get to be a Lost Boy? How did you get your song on the album?
I was in the middle of recording my first solo album, the Ready or Not album, and we got a call from the producer of the movie,
Richard Donner or
no, it wasn't Richard Donner.
Harvey Bernard.
No. It was,
Anyway, I don't.
It was the director. Was
Joel Schumacher.
Joel Schumacher.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And they called in the middle of our session, and they asked me. First of all, they asked me if they were looking for a title song to the movie. Did I have anything? They thought I might have had something laying around while I was recording.
Sure.
And I did. And I didn't have any words to it, but it was just music, and the music was very close to the same music that you know as the song.
Really?
And I just started writing words that kind of set up the plot and went along with the theme of the movie.
Yeah.
And recorded it and sent it to Joel, and he thought it was very good, and so that became it was kind of like a title song.
Yeah, it was the title song. Yeah, it was like yeah.
And about 2 weeks later, in the same studio we were recording my album, came this rickety old wagon, and some people who were in the movie, and I had to get up, I think with a longish coat, and it was very in keeping with what the movie was about, and it was a lot of fun to do, and the video turned out fantastic, and I thought the movie was incredible, and the way they used the song was very cool too.
Yeah, I agree. I love the song. But one of the things about for me is that we shot this movie, and then the first thing I really heard about the final was the album. I heard the album, and it just blew me away. I thought your song was amazing.
Thank you.
So as you can see, we got the boardwalk in the background. This is where they were on their bikes, and there were the bonfires on the beach, and the bikes were racing by. And the interesting thing about this scene, first of all, it's one of my favorite scenes in a way, because this is where he says, "You don't have to beat me, Michael. You just have to keep up." And I just think that's a significant point in the movie, because he thinks he's going to be part of this crew. He thinks he's going to have some friends, which was their way of bringing him in, drawing him in. You know what I mean? So the interesting thing is, if you remember, David says, Hudson's Bluff overlooking the point? So that's where they're headed. Well, Hudson's Bluff overlooking the point is that direction. So they head off in that direction, but you see that bridge over there, that as part of that long pier, that's where they went under. The significance of this spot here is that, so when the race, the bicycle race, where Michael is just trying to keep up with Kiefer and his bikes, and the Lost Boys and stuff like that. They took off up there, and this is under this pier here. This is where one of the places that they came under. You remember that shot, and they all came under here, and it was probably a little bit, because there were like these pipes here and stuff like this. My guess is it was a little lower tide, and so they were down here a little bit. You never know with movie making, though, because, they might have made a little dike or something like that to keep the water out, being like, we need to keep the water out. Okay, let's go. It's movie making, they're like, it's magic. We can do whatever we want. We can hold the water back. We can keep the tides. We can hold back tides in Hollywood. Anyway, so another piece of that movie magic is that, so this pier, interestingly, is, they took off when they were at the when they had that little moment with Kiefer and Michael and Lost Boys and everything. They had that little moment, and they got on their bikes and they took off south down the coast from the boardwalk. But interestingly, this is just north of the boardwalk, just because. So it looks like they went off that way, and then they went under this thing, under this pier. Unless they went around the world, which probably didn't happen. Let's say they're vampires, maybe they did. But as you can see, the boardwalk is right here. That's the beginning of it, and look over there, that's the boardwalk. They were right there at the end of the boardwalk there, and they took off that way. They took off down the coast, south, and then we have a video of them, we have a piece of the clip of them coming under this bridge, which is north, which is like, there's no way, So I just thought that was interesting, a little bit of movie magic that they did. It doesn't matter where the location is anymore. We'll make it look like the location is there. That kind of stuff. I love it. So I don't know if you recognize this area, but this is when Michael is chasing his new friends on the motorcycles, and they go through the woods here. It's called Gray Whale Ranch. That's what this whole area is called. And we see our lost boys cruising through the woods. Michael thinking that, that these might be his new friends that he's going to hang out with, not realizing, of course, that they're his new enemies. The next stop is going to be Hudson's Bluff. See you there. Here I am with Chance Corbitt, Laddie, the man, the myth.
Jamison Newlander, the legend.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
So here we are we're going to do a little bit of shoot here at the cave. It looks a bit like the coast that it looked like, but we don't yet see the stairs down there. That's kind of, you can see what we're looking at down there. And that motorboat out there, hey!
I have no clue. Do you remember?
I think that this does not look anything like what it looked like when they brought us here. Because when they brought us here, it was just in that car. And, but in all fairness, we didn't make sure that, I didn't look around the surroundings and stuff. I just went where they, you were 10, right? I mean,
I was 10.
Yeah. All right, so here we are at what might be the cave. It seems like it geographically. This kind of looks like it. We're at low tide. But we don't have access to the stairs on the other side, which is what would confirm, those rickety stairs. All right, so guys, here we are. I think this is the cave. It kind of looks like it. What do you think, Chance? Do you think this is it?
Yeah, I think it is. The problem is, it's supposed to be low tide, but I don't know. Check it out.
It's feeling pretty high.
It was pretty high to me.
Yeah. So if that's low tide, I don't want to get high.
You know what though? It is pretty nostalgic being here.
Is that how you're feeling?
Yeah, kind of. As I come back and you reflect. I think right down there is where that washed up piece of trash was. Where right down there. It was like a fence that I used as a trampoline.
Yeah.
Probably an hour of enjoyment. A lot of fun.
Yeah, an hour is a long time to get like it's like a little chain link fence that was like kind of.
Yeah, but as you know, you have a lot of downtime.
Oh yeah, you got a lot of downtime. That's something, in case you guys don't know, from filming a movie, it's a lot of downtime. And then you got to be ready when you're ready. Well, I have a question for you. That's sort of
Sure.
Like, have you reconciled the idea that Laddie was just a total pussy in that scene?
It still bothers me to this day. No, that's funny.
Just sleeping, and Shar had to carry him out and everything like that.
Yeah, it was rough. It was.
You had to face
rough.
that.
But I did. I faced that head on, and I think we're doing okay with it.
Because I think Laddie otherwise was a pretty tough kid. He seemed like a tough kid.
He was a boy of few words, but I think he felt his presence. At least I would hope so. But,
yeah.
So what's it like for you to be back here? Have you been back here?
I know,
So the cool thing is, I know you do Lost Locations, and I've seen I think 3 or 4 of your episodes that are pretty cool. Actually, you guys do a great job. Have you been here?
No, that's the thing, is that we've done the Santa Cruz locations, which is awesome. And this is this sort of offshoot where they probably just couldn't find something cool enough up in Santa Cruz. and they were like, "Oh, that's cool." I mean, I'm guessing, right, that's what happened.
Sure.
And then, so this is this whole other direction. I mean, Santa Cruz is about 5 hours north. If on a good day, on a good drive, it's about 5 hours north of LA. And this is about an hour and a half south of LA.
Yeah.
Now, like the thing is, you were a little kid, so you had a certain perspective. At 10 years old, you were in a big movie. You had a sense it was a big movie at that point, right?
Not really. So, I always say my dad, he's the one who was pursuing sort of his career. So I think once we booked this, I think he knew sort of what it was. I really had no clue. And I thought, it's like when you go into Magic Mountain and you go on the Goliath, the first roller coaster, every roller coaster after that kind of is,
Right.
So, doing a movie like this, was so epic. And then sort of everything after that, I compared to, and I put this movie, that was the watermark, right? So it was really hard to sort of live up to that, but it definitely, it didn't open doors, it did the opportunity, it really kicked open, busted open doors, as I'm sure it did for you. I mean, after Lost Boys,
to an extent, I didn't take advantage of it in the same way. I should have worked it much more.
What do you mean?
Well, like I went off to New York. I was doing theater. I worked it in that sense that I built a real acting career in New York and stuff that was in a little bit, to a degree, based on the Lost Boys success. But in terms of like, I think about like, you talk about experiences on auditions and stuff, and it's like you had that groove where Lost Boys happened, and then you were just cruising on auditions, right? At some point,
there were 5-6 auditions a day, and then. The way it works is you get in the casting agents sort of, their Rolodex of 5 or 6. Really, they know you play well on screen, and they're going to bring you in. And so it really genuinely is madness.
Yeah.
And early on, I say this, my parents were real troopers. We would go on 5-6 auditions, and early on, you don't make a lot of money, in this business. It's a grind. So. We're riding buses everywhere. And
is that right? You were riding buses?
We had to ride the RTD everywhere.
Good for you. That's really cool. That's a great slice of 80s life, because I did that a little bit.
Yeah.
Or riding my bike places and stuff.
You did whatever it took. So my motivation for actually landing a role was to not ride the bus anymore. That was really my motivation.
Like on the ground,
I'm going to kill this audition because I don't want to ride the bus anymore. And so I was
great.
But again, I give all the credit to this movie for affording me the opportunities that I otherwise wouldn't have had. I mean, you don't go out in some of the movies that I was able to go out on unless this thing happened. And we're sitting in front of the cave,
right?
Talking to this guy, frog brother, and actually, in all seriousness, my brother, a really close friend of mine, and more than happy to do this with him for his wonderful show. So you got to watch it. Lost Locations and pretty fun, and yeah, cool.
It's fun going back to these locations and just sort of, because it's us. We were there, we were there, and we people have a connection to these locations based on watching the movie. But it's like, for us, before the movie was a big movie, before a lot of people, before anybody knew about it, we knew about it, and it was part of our lives. This is what's called the Municipal Wharf, by the way. That's the name of this thing we're on. And so we were just up there and looking down here, and that's the boardwalk right there. Check it out. Wow, there it is. Thou shalt not fall. So what you want?
Isn't that what it looks like? Beastie Boys?
Yeah, kind of. P-Dub in the house. Come on, drop some knowledge. I'm gonna just try, because if you guys aren't good too, that gives me a little more license to be bad. Okay, ready? P-Dub's what we call him. We also call him Will. When you're in doubt, you better get the bill. Send it his way by email, by text. And then you know what? You're next.
You're next.
Like,